Hello and welcome to lesson 1 of week 6. In this lesson, we are going to look at modules in Python. My name is Mildred. A module is any file that contains definitions and statements that we can use on other files or we can run as a script. So basically any Python file you have can be a module. Let's illustrate this and see why modules are necessary and how we use one module in another file. Now take note that Python has built-in modules that we are going to look at in week 7, but in this lesson we are going to focus more on how we create our own modules and how we use a module on a file. So I'm going to create a new file and I'll call this helper. So in this directory I will create a file called helper.py. Now when we create this file as a module, the file name is the name of the module. And what I want to do here is to have some basic mathematical calculations. Like I want to create some functions that will do basic mathematical operations. So I want a function that will add two numbers that are passing as arguments. I want another function that will get the difference. Then I want one that will do the product. Let's say I want to have a fourth function. We want it to do a divided by b, right? So let's do a conditional statement. Let's say if b is not equal to 0, we're trying to avoid a zero division error. So if b is not equal to 0, we want it to return a divided by b, like this. And if b is equal to 0, we want it to return none instead of the error. So we have these four functions and we want to use this as a helper file. Let's say we have another file and we call this new file, let's say calc.py. Now this new file is going to have some functionalities that depend on the definitions on the helper file. The helper file is now a module we want to import in the calc file. In Python, when we want to import a module, we use the import statement like this and the name of the module. The name of the module is usually the name of the file, so helper. Once we import helper like this, every definition in the helper file is now available for us to use in this file. Take note of the directory here. They are all in the same directory, and when we get to the advanced course, we'll see how we use the init file and how we have our files as a package and all that. But for now, we want to include the helper file and the calc file, and we want it to use the functions that we have defined there. So let's say as we imported helper, we want to print out the sum of two numbers. So let's use the print statement. So I'll say print. Now the file name is helper, so I'll have to reference the file and I will say helper dot, the name of the function in that file is calcsum. So helper.calcsum. I want to get the sum of 5 and 3. So we also have for difference, product, quotient. Let's do all of them. So I have the four functions, and when we run this I didn't put the arguments. Let's use 5 and 3 for all of them. So I'm going to run this again, and then we have all of them printed out. So we have the sum of 5 and 3 to be 8, the difference 5 minus 3 is 2, 5 times 3 is 15, and 5 divided by 3 is 1.66667, like that. So we have the module imported and we can use the functions defined here. So when you build your software, sometimes there are things you want to do over and over again. You want to have a helper file. Let's say for instance you want to have a function that every input that you receive from the user interface passes through that function to strip slashes, to remove white spaces, to remove HTML special characters, and all of those security things you do to sanitize your input. So you can have that as a function, and you always import that function on your processing script where you use different functions from .helper file to be able to easily do things. When we get to dates also, you'll see how we can have helper functions to be able to convert from one time zone to the other when we work with dates. So this is where we end this lesson. In week 7 we are going to look at the built-in Python modules, but now that we know what modules are all about, we're going to be using them as we go along. So thank you and see you in the next lesson.